Well, hi, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to our second edition of Breaking News for this Saturday. It's the 5th day of July, 2025, and we have some news on the hostage ceasefire front. We also find that the Supreme Leader was seen publicly for the first time in Iran, and there's another important reminder that Iran must be watched carefully. And speaking of watching, China is doing this to Israel as well as to the rest of the world in the electronic devices that they sell. And so we'll talk about these stories and how they all fit with respect to last day's Bible prophecy. All right, hostage negotiation team to fly to Doha for talks with Hamas on Sunday. This is from the Jerusalem Post. So what Israel did tonight, instead of giving some public statement about what they thought of the Hamas response to the Witkoff Donald Trump ceasefire proposal that they accepted on Tuesday. They're going to send a team to Doha to talk to Hamas tomorrow and hash it out there. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. Also, Khamenei makes his first public appearance since Operation Rising Lion. This is from Israel National News. You recall we talked about this morning that there were stories that he had died, and the Mossad, in their account from in Farsi, the Iranian language, made it clear that the Supreme Leader is still alive and kicking. And I guess he was seen at some public events, and we'll talk about that. He is still with us. Um, Iran's terrorist regime is wounded, not dead. Watch it carefully. This is from Gatestone. Next one article, basically saying what a number of other articles that we've dealt with recently have been saying about Iran needs to be watched carefully. The game isn't over here just with the destruction of those three nuclear sites. They're not going to stop doing what they're attempting to do, and which they want to do, which of course we know they won't accomplish according to Scripture, and that is the destruction of Israel. And they may destroy the United States. We don't know that because the U.S. isn't in Bible prophecy, but we know Israel will still stand. And again, speaking of watching, China's big brother is watching how Chinese smart devices are spying inside Israel, as well as the rest of the world. We'll find out. This is from YNET News. So let's look at the headlines. All right. Headline one, hostage negotiation team to fly to Doha for talks with Hamas Sunday. This is from the Jerusalem Post. The reports came after Hamas said it discussed the current deal framework with other Palestinian factions, and they were unified in their positive response. A decision has been made to send a delegation to Qatar for hostage deal talks as of Saturday evening. In other words, after the Shabbat, the Sabbath was over, they discussed it, so they're going to send a delegation there to Doha. The team is expected to leave tomorrow, Sunday. These closed talks with Hamas would be an attempt to close the remaining gaps between the parties and conclude the details of the hostage and ceasefire deal. The reports come after Hamas said they discussed the current U.S.-backed ceasefire hostage deal framework with other Palestinian factions, and they were unified in their positive response to the proposal. And of course, there are currently 50 hostages remaining in Hamas captivity, less than half of whom are understood to still be alive. The full draft was delivered to Israeli officials, and it differs from the version published on Friday, which was translated from Arabic. And this is Israeli channel N12 reporting. All right, so here's the key. Israel's decided to send their team to Doha, Qatar, to confront Hamas personally instead of commenting in the news, which I think is a wise thing to do. Well, as has consistently been the case, we think it's impossible to see how a deal can be reached with each side making the demands that they do make, which are a red line for the other side. And so, unless something unexpected does take place, we will continue to see a stalemate continue to happen with nothing concluded. And so, the military part will continue with Israel and the Gaza Strip keep on fighting. As much as Donald Trump wants a ceasefire, Israel has its red lines, Hamas has its red lines. And what Hamas did by sending those suggestions, it's funny how they said, well, this made minor suggestions or minor corrections. No, they made huge, major corrections to it that they knew Israel would not accept. There are three of them in particular. We don't need to go into them because tomorrow, hopefully, we'll get an answer, at least by Monday, as to what Israel said to them, and it'll be another stalemate, it seems. All right. Now, Khamenei, we talked about him earlier, still being alive. Well, he made his first public appearance since Operation Rising Lion. This is from Israel National News. Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was spotted at Ashura, an Ashura night event in Tehran, marking his first public appearance since the launch of Operation Rising Lion. Now, unless this was a body double, then all doubts should be done as to the disposition of the supreme leader. He's still with us. His personage makes any future compromise with Israel or the U.S. difficult, if not impossible. He is hard-headed, hard-line. They're going to keep going forward. We talked about this today. Trump mentioned it. They're still going to enrich uranium. They're still not going to allow inspectors in the country to look at their nuclear sites. Those are two red lines for the U.S., and we'll see what happens. And so it looks like we may have some more fighting going on soon with respect to Iran. We'll wait and see. Next, we have another well-written article that concurs with what so many others have been written recently. This is from Gatestone. The name of the author is Majid Rabizadeh. He's written some really excellent articles. Gatestone Institute is the website. Iran's terrorist regime is wounded, not dead. Watch it carefully. Very true words. He says, now comes the more difficult and longer term task, making sure Iran's regime does not rise again. Iran is still a revolutionary Islamist state that sees the United States as the great Satan, sees Israel as a cancer, and believes that its divine mission, this is the key, its divine mission is to conquer and export its Islamic revolution to the West. Remember, they're called the Twelvers, the 12th Mahdi, the 12th Imam, the final Mahdi. There were 12 Imams in the history of Islam. The last one just disappeared out in the desert somewhere, and he's been in hiding since the 9th century, according to Shia Islam. He will come back at the time of the end, according to their eschatology or their last day belief. But first, there needs to be death and destruction worldwide to clear the way for him. And that's what Iran believes they are doing. And again, I like what he said. It's a divine mission as they look at it, as they see it. All right. Khamenei's declaration that he was of a theocrat who thinks that Donald Trump's Western talk of you often get more with honey than you do with vinegar is laughable, pathetic, and that of a loser. In Khamenei's view, if Trump were not weak or stupid or both, Trump would have killed him. Khamenei no doubt believes that Allah is on his side because Allah, not Trump, saved him and his regime, and he's therefore invincible. Anyone who knows this part of the world understands that Khamenei will not thank Trump. Khamenei clearly does not see Trump's reprieve as mercy. He doubtless sees his survival as a confirmation that Allah has protected him and that it is infidel America that is worthy of contempt and being eliminated. Did you get that? Infidel America that's worthy of contempt and being eliminated. We are on their hit list. And that's why when we talked about yesterday, they've worked on these long-range missiles. We know now they can reach anywhere in the Middle East. They can reach the continent of Europe. They can reach London, and they can reach the eastern portion of the United States. And so they're working on getting the ICBMs, which can reach anywhere in the United States, including, the West Coast where we're at right now. And so that's their goal, again, to destroy the big Satan and the little Satan. And this article is very excellent talking about this. So the writer goes on to say, there's also the possibility that other countries might be eager to sell Iran nuclear components for peaceful purposes, of course. Now, this is something we have talked about. Our Iranian friend Nader mentioned this to me. He said, don't think for one second that Iran's going to give up with nuclear weapons. There are scientists out there who will sell their souls. You pay them the right amount of money to put together some type of, some of these old out of use that Russia has in particular, ones that are fading their nuclear weapons and, revamp them. And so he said the technology is there. The people are there who'll sell their souls to do it. So we'll see. We just don't know. And the author again goes on to say there appears to be a dangerous tendency in the West, especially among liberal elites and international bureaucrats, to celebrate ceasefires as solutions. A ceasefire with a regime such as Iran is not a solution or peace. It is a pause. It is a breathing space to regroup, rearm, and resume plotting. Very well said. I love it. This must be the end of the Iranian regime, not a pause, the writer says. Not another negotiation, the end. Would the U.S. have let the Nazi Party remain in power after World War II? Anything less, really, is a betrayal of the American people, the amazing Israelis, and the extraordinary American pilots and the West. That's the article. It's from Gatestone Institute. Well said. This time, Israel and the U.S. are carefully watching anything Iran might do to further their military aspirations. It seems it won't be long until some sort of skirmish does break out, since Iran is continuing to attempt to enrich uranium while not letting in any inspectors into the country to see what they're doing, trying to do it off-site. Obviously, have to do it off-site because they can't do it in the places that were destroyed in the present time. So again, we'll keep an eye on this. Now, finally, again, speaking of watching, headline 4, China's big brother is watching how Chinese smart devices are spying inside Israel. The writer says, it may sound like a Netflix thriller, but it's real. Chinese smart devices are sending user data to Beijing. Israel is only now responding, halting a defense ministry tender for Chinese cars amidst warning over Beijing's powerful data intel abilities. So here's the story. IDF lieutenant colonels will no longer be driving around in electric ATTO BYD-3 cars. Following, as Chinese, by the way, following constant pressure from cyber and information security experts, the Defense Ministry put a halt to the supply of Chinese cars to the Israeli Defense Force officers earlier this year. This isn't the first time that the IDF has used Chinese cars. Several Chinese electric MGZS models are currently used to secure the Defense Ministry headquarters in Tel Aviv, and 600 Chinese electric crossovers, Cherry Tiggo 8s, supplied to officers with large families, are already driving around the country. This is, however, as the article says, the first time IDF officers have been driving vehicles that are banned from entering high security IDF bases. For this, the emergency e-call emergency systems designed to automatically contact the emergency hotline in the eventuality of an accident have been completely disconnected so as to eliminate the car's direct communication with the outside world. This, however, is not enough, argues Dr. Harel Menesheri, one of the founders of the Shin Bet Cyber Division, presently serving as the head of cyber at the Holon Institute of Technology, the HIT, and lecturing at Tel Aviv University School of Public Health. Menashri believes that Chinese cars should be treated as sophisticated intelligence gathering systems. The reason? Well, they have advanced sensor systems with communication capabilities and can easily collect a vast amount of visual, audio, and even biometric information about the vehicle's occupants and surroundings and directly transmit it to servers in China. Great raw intelligence about people, installations, and movements of vehicles in certain areas. Now, there's nothing groundbreaking, as the article says, about what Menashri is saying. Only last year, after imposing a 100% tax on Chinese cars, the Biden administration blocked their sale on grounds that they could pose a national security threat. A White House statement said that connected cars can, quote, be piloted or disabled remotely. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo said that the cars are like smartphones on wheels and pose a serious national security threat. They certainly do. Economic commentators were quick to note that with all the patriotic fervor the administration has furthered, less innocuous motives may make things difficult for Chinese auto manufacturers, helping American countries address fierce competition from China. All right, now we go on from Menashri, who hasn't been shy about voicing his warnings on various platforms. If Chinese cars are dangerous, then Chinese-made security cameras are no less problematic. In May 2018, the U.S. government banned the American defense establishment from using cameras manufactured by two big Chinese companies, Hikvision and Doha. It turns out that upon connecting to the network, they immediately search for an internet connection and transmit to government servers in China. We shouldn't be surprised with that. Their sale has been banned in the U.S. since 2021. In Israel, however, they're used en masse, including by government organizations, local municipalities, and even the police and the IDF. So they're still using Chinese cameras, believe it or not, that are sending information to communist China. Now, how about this? You probably never thought about this. Robotic vacuum cleaners are now equipped with not only Wi-Fi chips for remote control, but also lasers, cameras, and sensors to help them collect dust. Along the way, they also collect a great deal of data about their owners. They can learn the home's daily routine, the size, location, and internal layout of the house, information that may indicate income, etc. Current versions of the robotic vacuum cleaners also create and store a map of the home. Back in 2020, Checksmarks, a security company specializing in static application security testing, identified serious security vulnerabilities in Chinese-made smart robotic vacuum cleaners, allowing external attackers full access to the materials photographed by the robot. And then, of course, there's the drones. This is a huge story here. Despite Congress banning the U.S. Department of Defense, DoD, from using Chinese-made drones, Chinese drone giant DJI, get this, still holds an 80% share of the American private market. Did you know that? We've been selling this for years. 80% share of the American private market. The drones that are made here and manufactured here and sold here, 80% of the market are Chinese made. Earlier this year, the U.S. Department of Commerce announced it was weighing imposing restrictions on Chinese drones as they, quote, pose acute risks to our national security and the privacy of all Americans. All right, interesting article from Gatestone. No, that one's not from Gatestone. This is just one from as YNET, but very, very well written. All right, the ability to spy remotely anywhere in the world fits one of our 25 signs we're near the end, namely sign 15. There will be an exponential increase in technology. Now, we documented sign 15 in that book, how at least three places in Scripture, there are at least three passages, Matthew 24, Revelation 11, Revelation 13. It assumes a world that will exist at the time of the end that looked nothing like the world in the first century. In other words, what we know now with the technology that can see any place, anytime, that in real time events can be watched anywhere on the face of the earth. This is what is assumed there, these three passages of scriptures we've talked about before. And so we document this and how there's a different world that'll exist at the time of the end, a world which is right now existing at our day and age where technology can cause the whole world to see events in real time. And again, this is unheard of, obviously, in the first century AD, but it's common to us right now. And it's another example, of course, of the Bible predicting future events ahead of time that no human being will be able to know. The book 25 Signs We're Near the End is a free download from our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible Prophecy, as is each of our 65 books on the website, Educating Our World, including 12 under the heading of Bible Prophecy. All right, as we mentioned earlier, many important events related to last day's Bible prophecy are going to seemingly take place in coming days. We'll have some decisions made, and we'll see where that all leads. We'll keep you posted, as always, as to what will happen. All right, until then, I'm Don Stewart saying thank you so much for watching, and as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless.